The seventh episode of Surviving Earth is officially out. This one is called When the Continents Collided. What we're looking at in this episode is known as the Great American Interchange, which is a really fascinating time in Earth's history when North America and South America finally connected via a land bridge. This is something that allowed a lot of North American species to travel over to South America and vice versa, which likely led to some really interesting encounters. Man, I really liked this episode. I know I've been saying it a lot with like each episode, but this one might be my favorite. For one, I really like the Cenozoic. I've been doing a lot more research and reading a lot more about the Cenozoic over the last year and a half, and so I've like really gained this huge appreciation for it as a whole. That is to say, it was really amazing to see as many Cenozoic species as we did. Now, we're primarily following a group of Cuvieronius, which is a type of Gomphothere, an elephant-like animal. Their designs were fantastic in this, and they looked incredibly realistic. The CGI was truly shining bright in this episode. There was a lot of close-up shots of a lot of the animals that we saw, and the texturing was just on another level. It was insane. Now, following Cuvieronius was really cool. It's a lesser-known animal, and one that certainly does deserve the spotlight. Like, it's not even a creature that I knew too much about. I've done some research leading up to this episode, and I've come to the realization that Cuvieronius is just really cool. It is an animal that has potentially been found in North America and has been found all the way down in South America. So it is a creature that experienced the Great American Interchange, and therefore it was a fantastic creature to follow for this episode. In the beginning portion, we are following a matriarch who is trying to guide the rest of her herd to water. You know, there's a drought that's currently going on, and these animals are suffering. She recently gave birth to twins, a male and female Cuvieronius, and so obviously the stakes are high. We encounter some really interesting animals during this section, such as Smilodon gracilis, which is one of the smaller Smilodon species that we know of. In fact, they established that it was only about the size of a jaguar, which is obviously not quite as large as Smilodon populator, for example, which is the largest species that we know about. We also see some Glyptotheriums, which are South American giant armadillos that already made their way across the land bridge. And there was some really interesting shenanigans that happened with that, with one of the baby Gomphotheres wanting to play with it and then getting a tail to the side, essentially. Now, we follow this herd for a while, and there is some tragedy to be had as the matriarch does succumb to some injuries that she got from the Smilodon gracilis. She was clawed in the leg, or in the arm rather, you know, whatever you want to call that, and it became infected, which led to her death, which I thought was very sad. That led to another female who previously lost her baby during the drought to sort of take over as the matriarch. We get to a point where these animals are crossing a temporary bridge, which is only present when the tide is low, and as they're crossing it, the tide comes back in, and it sweeps one of the baby Gomphotheres away. Although don't worry, because the baby did survive. Now, the real meat and potatoes of the Great American Interchange comes in when they finally cross over to South America, and they're introduced to what is essentially an alien world, which South America very much would have been like an alien world, because South America was an island continent. It was completely isolated from the rest of the world, which means evolution was doing its own thing there, essentially. You had a lot of new creatures that were showing up that were very different from anything you might expect anywhere else, and you had a lot of plant life that was very different. I liked how it seemed like the animals were just like, you know, they're walking around basically in awe. And also animals that are already living in South America are looking at the Gomphotheres like, what the heck are these guys? Now, we see some giant ground sloths. I believe these guys were Erematherium. They were portrayed as mostly hairless, which is pretty likely for Erematherium. It was a big animal that lived in a warm environment, so being like having sparse hair makes sense for it. It has a beautiful design, looks a lot like the prehistoric planet Ice Age Erematherium, so I wouldn't be surprised if Gabriel Uqueto designed this one as well. Because he designed the one from Prehistoric Planet Ice Age. We also see some Falcon Toxodon. They're simply just called Toxodon in the episode, but I think that's because they're a part of the Toxodontidae family. Now, we do see some terror birds, and according to the Impossible Pictures Instagram, these guys are actually Forest Raucus, which I don't believe they lived during the Pliocene, which is when this episode mainly takes place. So that is a little bit of an inaccuracy. I checked their Instagram to see if they clarified this, and I saw that they responded to somebody by saying that's why they just call them terror birds in the episode. So I guess you can look at it as like a fictional forest rocket, I guess. It was still cool to see them. They had a great design. I really liked the texturing on their head and the way that the feathers looked. Now, there was a point when they find the Gomphotheres. Like, at first they were chasing the Falcon Toxodon, but then they saw the Gomphotheres off in their little herd. These were creatures that they've never seen before, and I liked their confusion at first. Like, they're just kind of staring at them like, what the heck are these things? And then they noticed that they had little babies, and they're like, oh, shoot, I'm going to go for that. So they charge at the Gomphotheres, and the newly established matriarch is getting ready to defend, like, the babies. And one terror bird charges up to her, and son of a gun, she it up. This terror bird did not stand a chance. She lays it out basically with her tusks at first, then she crushes it with her foot. It was brutal. It was brutal, and it was kind of fun, really. The episode then jumps forward 1 million years and establishes that the connection between North America and South America is a lot stronger now. It's not just a small land bridge that, shows up when the tide is low. No, it's just permanent there. And a lot of animals are going back and forth in both continents, and evolution is obviously taking an effect. There's a lot of live action footage of animals, which was great because, yes, we're in a point in Earth's history where you would see animals that you would recognize. And it was established that there is a South American species of Smilodon. This is obviously Smilodon populator, which is the largest species that we know about. Quite a bit larger than Smilodon gracilis that we saw at the beginning of the episode. It's hunting a Gomphothere, which it was established that the Gomphotheres are doing quite well in South America now. It was hunting a baby, but then it was chased off by an older Gomphothere. And that's pretty much where the episode ends. It establishes that, yeah, the interchange did occur, and a lot of animals were becoming established in brand new environments, and some animals were probably becoming extinct as well. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I really, 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 really liked this episode. I am really interested in the Great American Interchange, and so I'm always a fan of seeing it on screen, and I thought that they did very well with this one. The animal interactions felt incredibly authentic, and I actually felt really concerned for this group of Cuvieronius. The reason why I was calling them Gomphotheres for the majority of the videos, because I was saying Cuvieronius quite a bit, and it started to, like, I trip over that word a lot, so that's why I kept calling them Gomphotheres, which is still true. It's still true to call it, like, it's still accurate to call them that. But what else can I really say? Again, the designs were just amazing. All of the creatures that we saw were just fantastic. And it's just a really interesting topic to take a look at. It's not really a huge extinction that we're looking at in this episode. Instead, it's just kind of like a little bit more laid back, animals getting introduced into different environments, and the effect that it has on different animals. So far, this is my favorite episode. And the last episode is likely a little bit more in the Pleistocene, during the Ice Age. So we're going to be seeing some very cool animals in that, and I am very much excited for the release of that episode. And all around, I've really enjoyed this show. Obviously, I'm going to have a full review of this show after the final episode releases, and I'll give you my overall thoughts, but right now, I think that it's a pretty solid show, and I think it's introduced a lot of really cool creatures to a lot of people out there. But yeah, be sure to let me know what you guys thought of this episode down below, and yeah, until next time, have an awesome day.